Hey guys, this is Jason. I'm reviewing Fantastic Four First Steps, directed by Matt Shankman, who is known for doing television like It's Always Sunny in Philadelphia and directing all 9 episodes of WandaVision. It takes place in a different Marvel universe while still being a part of the MCU. It focuses on the Fantastic Four in a retro 1960s universe, where the Fantastic Four in that universe are looked at as heroes and people love them and they protect the Earth from some bad guys. But then the Silver Surfer comes to Earth and tells them about a new threat that they've never experienced before called Galactis, a giant being that eats planets everywhere he goes, and the Fantastic Four have to work together and figure out how they'll stop him. The Fantastic Four films haven't had the greatest reputation when it comes to their films. Like, there's the 90s Fantastic Four film, which, good God, that is awful. He also had the 2 Tim Story Fantastic Four films from the 2000s, which I loved watching both of these films as a kid, and now that I'm older and I learn more, I do realize that both of those films aren't that great. Now, I don't think that they're bad. They're definitely not some of the worst comic book films ever, because a lot of people like to say that they are. But for me, I think they're fine. I think they are enjoyable and they're fun to watch on TV. I cannot say the same about futuristic because my God, it is boring. It is, in my opinion, the worst Fantastic Four film, where it has a very boring story, it has a very dark and unpleasant tone, it has characters that are very unlikable, and it has a terrible version of Doctor Doom. So going into this film, I was excited for it, mostly because I am a Fantastic Four fan, and I loved watching the animated shows as a kid, and I was still a fan of the Tim Story films back then, but because of their other films, I was still concerned. And I thought we would still be living in a time where we would unfortunately have to realize that, where we would get a Fantastic Four film that could still end up being terrible. But thank God I was wrong, because Fantastic Four First Steps is a really good movie that I had a lot of fun with in the theater. I was so relieved that we finally got a good Fantastic Four film that felt like it was made by people that actually cared about the source material and knew what they were doing. And I am honestly shocked that I'm saying that because, again, the Fantastic Four don't have a great reputation when it comes to their films. And it took them 31 years to finally do that. 31 years to finally break that curse. It has a great 1960s feel with the characters and the costumes and the production design and some of the style and the tone. There's even some times where you would see characters watching TV and they're watching a cartoon version of the Fantastic Four, and the animation is done in this Hanna-Barbera style, making it look and feel like it was made in the 60s, which is kind of funny because there was a Fantastic Four animated series from the 60s. So seeing this film have that type of tone with its characters and the world they live in kind of make this film feel like a Marvel version of the Jetsons. It has great Easter eggs to other Fantastic Four stories, like with some of the references to those comics and some of the villains that they faced in those comics as well. There's definitely a lot of those in this film, but it doesn't overstay its welcome. They don't use too much of that. They just use it as icing on the cake for the rest of the story. I thought everyone in the cast did a great job, like Pedro Pascal as great as Reed Richards. I liked Vanessa Kirby as Sue Richards. I thought Eben Bachrach did a really good job as Ben Grimm, and I thought Joseph Quinn was fun and likable as Johnny Storm. And for me, this might be the best cast for a Fantastic Four film. Now, I do like Michael Chiklis and Chris Evans from the Tim Story films, and that cast in those films did kind of feel like friends. They did feel like a team, but it's not like the best version of the Fantastic Four. But in Fantastic, they didn't feel like a team or a family at all. They just felt like people that were forced to work together even though they didn't like each other, where it doesn't feel like anyone is having fun doing the film, and there really isn't any fun in that film in general. They are definitely the best cast for a Fantastic Four film, and they definitely feel like a family like they're supposed to, and that's what this film captures very well. well. The family aspect, where when you see them talk to each other and you see them try to figure things out, they feel like a family and they feel like a Fantastic Four. And even though they do kind of skip the origin story, even though we do get a little bit of that from the opening, you still start to feel some sympathy for all four of these guys throughout the film when they deal with certain issues, and they start to deal with some more big issues when they learn about Galactus. And what also makes this film great is how they handle Galactus in the film, because he's a huge being that eats planets everywhere he goes. And when we see what Galactus is capable of, we see that Galactus becomes a huge threat, and I don't just mean literally. I mean, when they encounter him, that gets you the feeling of, how are they gonna stop this guy? Like, he's that big, how are they gonna defeat him? And when we see Galactus, he is a very threatening villain, with both his size and a solid performance by Ralph Ineson make him one of the best MCU villains ever. Michael Giacchino's score is also a great listen. I love John Ottman's score from the Tim Story films, but Michael Giacchino's score is my favorite Fantastic Four theme. It gives the film a very 60s feel, making this feel like you're watching a film that takes place in the 60s. And you would also have other parts of the music that would help build up some of the emotion for the characters and for some of the dark music with Galactus, where his score in this film alone is actually my favorite MCU score since Alan Silvestri's score in the Avengers. I mean it, it's that good. Because it's now become a very catchy theme, and a lot of people love to talk about the score, and I mean, I love to talk about the score as well. Now, as for issues, the way this film starts does feel a little messy, like they're going to other places in the story that are supposed to tie into the film, because after we get a long exposition scene where they explain how the Fantastic Four got their powers and became a team, where we also get another big part that's supposed to be huge for the team themselves, and we also get some scenes where Reed Richards is trying to use a teleportation device, and we do kind of go through those throughout this opening. It isn't until the Silver Surfer, played by Julia Garner, comes in and tells them about Galactus, and we will also have a great chase scene in space where a big moment is happening at the same time. For me, that's where the film finally feels like it's focusing on one story, where it takes some of the stuff that were set up in the beginning of the film and make them important for later on. And yeah, there are some plot holes that you do see where you go like, how does that work? Or how do these characters go to this place that way? Like, those plot holes are there, but they're the kind that I can easily ignore and don't worry about because they're not really that big of an issue. Fantastic Four First Steps is easily the best Fantastic Four film, where they finally got the story and the characters right, and I still can't believe it took them 31 years to do that. It has a great retro 1960s style with the production design and the costumes. It handles the story and the characters well. It has a very intimidating villain. It has a great musical score, and I'm glad that they decided to make this feel like it's in a different universe, even though it still counts as an MCU film, but making it be in a different universe makes it feel like it's being its own thing, and we really haven't had that with the MCU a lot nowadays, where those type of films will only appear a couple of times while most of the other films are just setups for the next Avengers film. And while this film does have a couple of those moments, like the mid-credits scene, which I won't get into what that is, but for the most part, this is a film that feels like it's trying to be its own thing without having a lot of stuff that's supposed to set up the next one. And I am in genuine shock that we have a good Fantastic Four film finally. And to be honest, I genuinely loved Fantastic Four First Steps, and I am surprised of saying that. I'm gonna give Fantastic Four First Steps an A. So guys, if you have seen Fantastic Four First Steps, what do you think about it? Do you think it's a great version of the Fantastic Four, or do you think it's as bad as the others? Let me know in the comments below. And as always, if you like this video, then please leave a like and subscribe to my channel so you don't miss a thing, because it helps my channel grow. Hit the notification bell so you know what other videos I'm posting. Follow me on Facebook and Instagram. Thanks for watching, guys, and I'll see you in the next one.